What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. And the Rangers coming off a loss to the Dallas Stars, preparing to face the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. But we're recording this episode, and in today's episode, we want to discuss the kids, right? How are they playing? Kind of reviewing their season so far. Who's been playing well? Who's been struggling? Of course, Philip Hedl is out with an injury. We want to talk about that because we haven't really discussed it enough on the channel. I know that there's a lot of fans speculating the severity of the injury. I don't think we're going to do that, but we will discuss kind of how it's impacted the Rangers, impacted their lines, and what our expectations are for Hedl when he returns to the lineup. And also, we want to talk about Capo Caco. We want to talk about Alexis Lafreniere. One of those two is playing better than the other, and the other one is drawing some serious concern from a lot of fans. So we'll go ahead and dive into these kids. But before we do all that, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Rangers. But without further ado, Eric, how are you doing today, my friend? And how are you feeling about the way that the kids have played so far this season?
I'm doing pretty good. In yesterday's episode, me and Colin promised you that we'd be back today to provide you with an episode about the kids. We are here to fulfill that promise, but it's not me and Colin, it's me and Anthony. But I am doing good. I'm excited for tonight. Rangers looking to bounce back against Pittsburgh after that loss to the Stars. And the kids, if the Rangers want to win, they're going to be a big part of it. The ones that are actually playing at this point in time. But my opinion on the kids so far this season, it's like a spectrum. I'm high on some, very low on others, and one is kind of just middle of the ground. So I'm ready to just break it down kid by kid and see what we got going on.
All right. Well, which kid should we start with first, Eric? Who do you want to discuss?
I feel like we might as well start with the low here, just get that out of the way. Capo Caco, he hasn't been good, and it's one of those things that we have to start to accept as Rangers fans. Heading into the season, we were very high on him. He had a little bit of a breakout season last year, had a career high in points. I believe it was exactly 40 points last season. And that was down on the third line when the kid line was still intact. But Peter Laviolette comes in, he breaks up the kid line. He's finally the man to give them the top 6 minutes. And Kako started the season on the first line, and he had like 2 points in like 9 games. And then he proceeded to go on like a 10-game point drought or something like that until he just recorded a goal in the game against the Stars. But that still only leaves him with 2 goals, 1 assist, and 3 points in 16 games played. So he's not producing points at a steady rate. It's down on the third line now. Right at this point, because of the injuries, he's playing with Cooley and Bonino. Normally it would have been Trocheck on that line, but potentially won't be Trocheck anymore on that line. But we'll get into that later. It's one of those things where, Kako has always looked like a good player throughout his career. He just didn't have the points to prove it. And we thought that a top 6 role would be the final piece of the puzzle to get Kako those points. But it just didn't. And, we get a little upset when we see Kako get demoted, but you can't force it. If he's not playing well, you can't just keep holding on to that like hope that he's going to finally start producing points. The Rangers need to win. And the Rangers have been winning without Kako on that first line. So it's one of those things where you got to kind of accept that reality and just be like, Kako at this point might not live up to that second overall expectation.
Yeah, it's starting to feel that way. I'm sure that there's a lot of Rangers fans who haven't given up hope, but I know that there are a lot who have, and they are starting to feel like the bust label is warranted. Now, like you mentioned, moving him up onto the first line, that was supposed to be the catalyst towards his breakout. It wasn't. I mean, he did just score he scored a goal versus the Dallas Stars in their last matchup, but that snapped a 10-game scoreless streak. 10 games, no points. He's got only 3 points in 16 games played this season. Far and away the worst of all the kids, and far and away one of the most underwhelming performances of any player on the Rangers. I mean, there's been a couple underwhelming performances. There's also been a lot of standouts, of course, like Artemi Panarin. Unfortunately, his streak came to an end. But of the underwhelming players like Mika Zibanejad, Capo Caco, I feel like, is the most underwhelming player so far this season, just because we had such high expectations for him going up onto that first line and going into the season. I thought he looked great last year. I thought that top 6 role would really be what he needed to break out, and so far it just hasn't happened for him. So, Eric, I guess I want to ask you, why do you think that is? Like, what do you think has stopped Capo Caco from having that breakout? What are you seeing in his game that's kind of faltering here? I think there's a little bit of a lack of aggression, a lack of a willingness to get in front of the net and shoot, but I want to hear your take on it and kind of like, why you think it's not all coming together for Capo Caco.
See, that is the age old question, because when you look at Kako play, it's not even like he's been a bad player. Even when he was on the first line and now on the third line, he looks good. You know, he skates fast, he skates hard. He's great with his puck possession. He's a phenomenal passer. So he's doing everything right. So like in theory, the points should definitely come with it. And I know Colin is always big on saying that Kako just has really bad puck luck, where like he makes all the right plays and the puck just like rolls the wrong way and doesn't go in, which like I agree with to an extent, but I feel like at a certain point you can't really use that as an excuse anymore. Like it could be a confidence thing where he did just go on a 10-game point drought. So like he hasn't been shooting the puck as much. I know like you look at all of the numbers on shots per game on the Rangers Kako, although I don't have it pulled up right now. I'm sure he's towards the bottom of the team. Getting moved around as well, playing on the first line. Kreider and Zibanejad, are they producing a lot of points? Yeah, they are, but none of it's been at even strength. Most of them has been on the power play. So when all of your line mates aren't producing points, it's kind of hard for you to do it on your own as well. Down on the third line, Benino and Cooley, they're not the top point scorers on the team. That's more of like a grinder line, play defense, clear the puck, lay some hits and draw some penalties. They're not really out there to score. And yeah, Kako, he did score a goal against the Dallas Stars, but when you look at it, me and Colin kind of talked about this yesterday. It wasn't really intentional. He like cut into the net and the puck like bounced off of his stick and then off of the goaltender and in. I don't even think he had a shot attempt. He kind of lost the puck and it rolled in. So that was like puck luck going right for once with Kako. So like there's all just these like minor issues like that, his confidence and them not shooting the puck as much, his line mates being bad. But other than that, I have no idea why he's not scoring, because he looks good. He's doing everything right. And, Laviolette said when he got demoted from the first line, it had nothing to do with his individual performance. It's just that whole line needed a change of scenery. And I know that Zibanejad has had quotes coming to Kako's defense, because fans like us were very critical on him because our expectations are so high for a second overall pick who isn't scoring basically at all. But like even Zibanejad said, like it's not his fault. It's unfair to him to put all the blame on Kako. So that's why like I feel like weird sitting here and just being like, yeah, Kako is the worst of the kids, because from a point standpoint, yes, he has been, but I think overall, just as a player as a whole, Kako has not been bad. He's definitely been a lot better than a lot of players on the team this year. He just doesn't have the points to prove it. And I don't know what it's going to take to start getting those points rolling, but I sure hope it does at some point.
Yeah, to be fair, Peter Laviolette had a quote this week where he kind of talked about Capo Caco, said, I still think he's looking to get unhinged a little bit offensively. And I think, and furthering the quote, he kind of mentions that, Capo Caco defensively, other things he's been doing well. And I think that's a really good point. And so I think where I stand with it is maybe Capo Caco is a player who's just better suited for being down on the third line. Like maybe his playing style just matches down there on that third line better. I think, we'll see if he does get another opportunity up in the top six, how he performs then. But I just feel like his playing style at this point, it's aggressive in terms of being physical and playing a lot of defense. I think that he's just more suited down on that third line. And still the question is, what can the Rangers do to solve that first line right wing problem? Because I don't think Blake Wheeler is the answer either, obviously. So we'll see what happens. But now I want to talk about Philip Hedl, who was playing great, but now has missed the last 6 games with a concussion, 4th of his career at 24 years old. That's a lot of concussions. That's a lot of head trauma for a young guy. And I know that there are fans speculating maybe this could be something that jeopardizes his career. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I also do a football podcast talking about the New York Giants. And let me tell you, I know a lot of NFL players who've had a lot of concussions and they're a lot older and they're still playing. Sterling Shepard is a prime example. I'm sure a lot of you listening are also Giants fans, being that you're New York Rangers fans. He's had 8 concussions and he's still playing. Philip Hedl has 4. It's a concerning number for sure. It's definitely going to have some sort of effects on him in his older age, but I don't think that it is something that's going to jeopardize his career. Now we'll see. He's not recovering quickly from this one. Post-concussion syndrome is a very serious thing. I know that affected a Yankees player earlier this season, and he missed like months with post-concussion syndrome. So sometimes concussions really are something that a player misses 1 week for. Sometimes it's something that they miss a couple months for. You really can't predict these things. And so that's kind of where we sit with Philip Hedl right now. When will he be back on the ice? I don't have the answer to that. You don't have the answer to that. The Rangers don't have the answer to that. Filipino doesn't have the answer to that. Like I said, post concussion syndrome is just really random, and you don't know when a player is going to fully recover. And so that's really disappointing because, like I said, I thought that Filipino was playing some pretty good hockey, and now his season has kind of been derailed by this whole thing. Now, one blessing in disguise from it, one silver lining that the Rangers can take from it, Vincent Trocheck has started to really elevate his game, looks like a star up on that second line where Filipino was playing, but also the drawback to that is for Filipino's career, a little bit of a lack of development there because now it looks like Trocheck's probably going to remain on that second line because he's been playing so well. And Filipino's likely to get trapped back down in the third line in the bottom six. And so we'll see exactly what happens when he does return. He still isn't skating yet. Even Adam Fox is skating now. Adam Fox had a long-term injured reserve designation, just injured reserve for Filipino, and he's still not back on the ice. It's kind of a scary situation. Again, like I said, it's something that he could just wake up in a couple days and be recovered from and be back on the ice next week. But it also is something that he could be out for several months with. So concussions are scary. Obviously, that goes without saying. So it'll be interesting to see when he is ready to return to the ice. But Eric, what are your expectations for him when he does return to the ice? Like, how did you feel like he was playing? And do you think that this is a situation where Laviolette's going to try and move him back up into the top six? Or is it just going to be one of those situations where he returns to the ice, settles down into that third line, and kind of continues like he was playing last season?
Yeah, I mean, before the injury happened and his concussion, Hedel was playing pretty well. He hadn't scored his first goal of the season. He had 6 assists in 10 games played, so only 6 points in 10 games. But, he was on that second line with Panarin and Lafreniere. And although I still do believe it is the best line on the Rangers with Trocheck, it was also the best Rangers line when Hedel was there. And he was playing fairly well. Even though he hadn't scored a goal, he was shooting well. He had a lot of assists, clearly, because he was just racking them up playing with Panarin and Lafreniere. But I feel like at this point in time, just because he's been out for so long, like missing 6 games already, and it doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon, I feel like he might get demoted back down to the bottom six, and the Rangers might just rock with the hot hand because Trocheck, last season he spent the entire year on that second line, started down on the third line this year, but since Hedel's been injured, Trocheck has been up there, and in his last 5 games, Trocheck has 10 points. So he's cooking. Like Trocheck is hot. He's working really well with Panarin and Lafreniere, and they're finding success because of it. And so I feel like whenever Hedel does return, assuming Trocheck is still playing out of this world like he is right now, Hedel might just be better suited back down on the third line, kind of like how we feel about Kako, where he's found success on the third line. He's not bad by any means. It's just you got to stick with the hot hand. And, when he's coming back from a concussion, like you said, like he could just wake up one day and be fine. It could take months. And I feel like whenever Hedel does come back from this injury, he's not just going to be 100% right off the bat. Even when he's like cleared to play and he's back in the lineup, we're not going to see a fully 100% Hedel for like at least a while. I mean, I'm not a concussion expert like you kind of are, but I feel like it's definitely something that it's going to take just a little bit of an expert. It's going to take something like a little more than just getting back in the lineup to fully heal him. He might need some adjustment period down on the third line and really just might not be the same type of player for a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be an adjustment period. I'm not a concussion expert. You're not a concussion expert. Neither of us are doctors, and we're not speculating on the injury. We're simply saying, he's either going to wake up soon and he's going to feel better, or it's going to be a long thing. It's really more we're speculating on what his impact is going to be when he returns to the team. But like you said there, I think there's going to be a ramp up period. I don't think that he can just fully get re-ingrained with that second line, just get thrown back in there. I don't think that's possible. He's going to have to start with a little bit less ice time. And for what it's worth, because he's been away from the ice for this long, I think that when he is back on the ice practicing, it's probably going to be a lot of practice before he even gets back into game shape and is back playing for the Rangers. So, I mean, he's still not skating. So, like I said, they're going to have to get him back skating and practicing for a little while before he's in the game. So it could be a long time before we see Filipino back on the ice, unfortunately. It's a pretty big loss for the Rangers. But so far, it hasn't really hurt them too much. Like we said, Trocheck's been playing well. The centers have been doing their job for the most part. So it's been okay. But now I do want to talk about the other player, the other kid, the third kid that we want to discuss. Number 13, Alexi Lafreniere, one of my favorite players on this team. Alexi Lafreniere, as I like to call him, because we all know how he spent his summer. At least we heard rumors about how he spent his summer drinking beer, playing slow pitch softball, playing Call of Duty, and not practicing. Well, those rumors don't seem to be absolutely true. If they are, that makes his season even more impressive because he looks like he was practicing all off season long. He looks like he is in the best shape of his life and he's playing the best hockey of his life. And I've been super impressed with the way that Alexi Lafreniere has been playing. So if that was his offseason regimen of drinking beer and playing, dumb games, then screw it. He should keep doing it because it paid off for him. But again, I don't know if those rumors are true because he looks like he's been practicing. Like he looks like a new and improved player to me. I know that he's playing on a line with a couple of other really good players, and they're elevating his game for sure. But I just think Alexi Lafreniere elevated his game. I think that he did work really hard in the offseason to get to the point where he's at right now. And I've been very impressed with the way that he's played this season. 16 games played, 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points. I like how he's been shooting. He's been aggressive. He hasn't been afraid. And he's playing with so much confidence, way more confidence. The shootout, which game was that? I'm forgetting who we played against when he scored in the shootout. Do you
Uh,
remember who the opponent was? I'm blanking on it, but you all know what I'm talking about.
hard.
But that backhand up into the top of the net, I mean, dude, that was sexy. Like that was a beautiful and what I loved about it is just how stone cold he looked when he shot that and when he scored it. The confidence was just radiating from Alexi Lafreniere. And I think that's the difference right now. And that's something that we talked about a lot for a lot of these Rangers players for what it's worth, right, Eric? Because when we were in the postseason versus New Jersey, we were talking about, okay, Panarin's confidence is shot. Panarin doesn't look like himself. He's not playing with confidence. And he really struggled because of that. I think at times last year, Alexi Lafreniere wasn't playing with confidence. We've seen that problem with Capo Caco. But right now, I would argue that maybe the most confident looking player on the Rangers is Alexi Lafreniere. Like he looks like he's confident in himself. He knows what he's doing. He thinks that he's the best player on the ice every time he's out there. Like that's what I'm personally seeing from Alexi Lafreniere. And I think that's the difference maker. That's why he's playing at such a high level and having this, what should be a career year by season end. So Eric, I do want to hear your opinions on Alexi Lafreniere, the way that he's played this season. And I also want to hear your take on that confidence thing, because that's really what stood out to me is just how confident Alexi Lafreniere has played.
Yeah, before I break down my opinion on Lafreniere, I just need to clarify two things. It was against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I thought that's what it was when he had the shootout winner, but I just had to double check before I confirmed it on the channel. And as for the summer rumors, I've said it before. I did over the summer see a video of Alexi Lafreniere hitting an absolute dinger in slow pitch softball. So I know 100% that part was true. I don't know about the beer, but I'm a big advocate for it, and I hope that it's true. And I'll have the Fireside Scouts hit the streets of New York next summer to make sure that it's actually happening. But as for Lafreniere this season, he has been incredible. 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points in 16 games, far and away the best of the kids. And, over the summer, if you told me that we'd be 16 games deep into the season and that Lafreniere is the only one of the kids that is actually impressing me, I wouldn't have believed you. I know I would have said Kakko on that first line is cooking, or Hedel on that second line has been like the second line center that we've always wanted. But it's just not the case. Lafreniere has just come out of nowhere and he's playing great. And the confidence is a huge aspect of this. People always say like Panarin, playing with Panarin makes him better. His stats are inflated. And I believe that to be true for other players in the past. He who shall not be named. Over on that second line, Mr. I miss empty nets in the conference finals and could have sent the Rangers to a cup finals. He was inflated by Panarin. He was a bad player who got a lot of points because he played with the greatest playmaker in the NHL. But I think when it comes to Lafreniere, he is actually helping Panarin be better. And I think it's kind of just like they're helping each other type thing where like one player's not benefiting from the other. They just work really well together where Lafreniere is playing with confidence and so is Artemi Panarin. He's another player that did really bad in the playoffs. His confidence was shaken. And then he just went out of nowhere, shaved his head, and apparently it worked. We made a lot of jokes over the summer that like he's going to come back with new confidence because he's bald. But apparently he did something there and he's cooking. So I think just that second line as a whole, with Trocheck and Lafreniere, they're both benefiting from Trocheck and Panarin. They're both benefiting from Alexi Lafreniere. He's not just a point scoring forward. He does all the other work that needs to be done too. He's making hits and he's getting in the corners, fighting for the puck. He's making takeaways. He's not giving away the puck and he's playing smart. And, he still has a lot of room to grow. but we're starting to see these flashes of him showing why the Rangers drafted him first overall. Like I kind of said earlier in the episode, Kako, even though he's not a bad player, he might just be better suited for a bottom six role with his skill set, and he might not live up to that second overall expectation. Lafreniere is really just like proving why the Rangers drafted him first and kind of just shutting up all the haters. I've been critical of him throughout his career. So have you. So has like every single fan of the New York Rangers. But I don't think anyone can say anything bad about Lafreniere so far this season. He started the season really hot. He took a couple games off, was like a little shaky. Didn't record a point for like 4 or 5 games straight, but then he got right back to it. Walked into Columbus, put up like 3 points in a shootout winner. So I have nothing bad to say. I'm very impressed. Easily the best of the kids, and I couldn't be more happy to see this kid succeed because, I think Lafreniere was like the first time as a Rangers fan, I was like, wow, this guy's younger than me. I could have been here. But instead, I just make videos about the Rangers. But I'm happy to see the young kid succeed.
Yeah, so am I. And I like what you said there about him being kind of like a polarizing player. We've all criticized him at one point. At one point, I was like, okay, maybe the Rangers should trade him. Then I was like, okay, never do that. I love this kid. Like he's won me over. And he really is one of those controversial, polarizing players. When he's not playing well, it's frustrating as hell. And you're like, God damn it, Lafreniere, stay off the beer. And then when he's playing well, you're like, crack a beer, my brother. Go shotgun one. Have a
You've
good
earned it.
time. You've earned it. Love the way you're playing. And that's how I'm feeling about Lafreniere right now. Like, I really have been impressed with the way that he's played this season. Again, I just think that confidence is paramount. Like, it just makes such a difference. I watch a lot of sports. I watch a lot of different sports. And one thing that is transcendent among every single sport that I watch, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, having confidence is key, right? Like, the players that play with the most confidence are the best players. Like, they really do outshine their expectations and flash their potential to be something special when they're playing with confidence. It's true for Lafreniere. It's true for, all the other sports, like I just mentioned, Panarin as well. It's very important that these players play with confidence. And I do think that's one thing about Capo Caco, just to kind of circle it back around before we wrap up here. Capo Caco, I don't think has been playing with that kind of confidence that Lafreniere is playing with. I think maybe it's because he's kind of in some new environment on that first line, or he was rather, and just kind of asked to do different things that he probably wasn't fully confident in his ability to do them. Just his playing style has to change on that first line compared to that third line. Maybe he's a little too comfortable now from that third line. That's why he's back down there. But I just don't think that he was fully confident. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of shape up his confidence a little bit more, how he starts to play once he gets that second opportunity on the first line and all of that stuff. But Alexis Lafreniere, really impressive. It's been an impressive run from him. And hopefully Kako can kind of elevate his status towards Lafreniere's, and excited to see what we get from Filipino when he's back from injury.
I also want to give an update because I just took a minute to try to find the video of Lafreniere playing softball. I can't find it. I feel like it might have been wiped from the internet, but I swear that I saw it. But here is an interesting take on it. They say that Lafreniere only did it to improve his hand-eye coordination. So I like to think that this slow pitch softball here was actually in order to improve his game. And I don't know how the drinking would have helped, maybe like help his balance and coordination, but I'm sure there was some strategic mindset going into that this summer. So Lafreniere is the GOAT.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Lafreniere beer, that's my GOAT. And I think that, the disappointing preseason, like everybody hit the panic button really early because he didn't play well in the preseason, and because there was those rumors swirling around that he was just drinking beer and he was playing video games and softball and all of that stuff. Okay, so I don't think any of that mattered. Like, it was preseason. Fans often hit the panic button, and that's in all sports. Fans hit the panic button during the preseason. They see something. Even Jonathan Quick was victim of this from the fans, and we were all really critical of him in the preseason. He's looked really good in this regular season. Same for Alexis Lafreniere. So lesson learned, Rangers fans. If we hear rumors in the offseason, they probably aren't that important. And also the preseason, you got to give these players time to gel in the regular season and then see how they perform. And right now, the Rangers look like one of the best teams in the NHL, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many. They're playing some really, really great hockey, and hopefully they can continue this and continue to get some good performances out of Alexis Lafreniere and the other two kids as well. But that pretty much wraps this one up. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Rangers, and have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the channel. We are thankful for all of you. Thankful for all of our viewers who listen to us on the daily basis. Comment down below in the comment section. Show us a love. Follow us on all of our channels. We appreciate all of you. We're very, very thankful for you. And we hope that you have some delicious food, watch some good hockey, watch some good football on Thanksgiving, all of that good stuff. And yeah, we will catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go,
Let's
Rangers.
go.